Welcome to the second arc of the Lair of Secret Cyberpunk RED actual play campaign. When last we met, APT's fixer, Priest, contacted her with a job. Infiltrate a ruined Elysium aeronautics research facility in the old Corp center deep within the hot zone of Night City. Once there, she and her crew must reboot an ancient server located in its rad-shielded basement. That's it. Flip a switch, get paid. 10,000 EBs up front, or 10,000 EBs, 5,000 up front, 5,000 when the job is done. The Netrunner pitched it to her colleagues, who did some research into how dangerous it would be to venture into a location still glowing with radiation 20 years after Arasaka nuked their own damn American headquarters. The answer? Pretty damn dangerous. But the threat of high radiation was only intermittent. Armed with lead-lined duct tape and a few other supplies, the team decided they would take the job, but only with a substantial pay raise. APT asked for 40,000 EBs and got it. 20,000 up front, 20,000 on the back end. Priest told her client's response was straightforward. Acceptable. Do not fail.
We did not ask for enough money.
Nope.
We asked for 4 times the amount that they were originally pitched, and they said, yup. And that was our cue to go, we just got screwed, people.
Yep.
So previously, you had acquired a number of assets during our last session, which is Chapter 6, Anticipating the Glow. APT has scored a bunch of hand-drawn downtown maps and a pre-nuke city guide from 2020. Angry Bob had also secured some pre-nuke street maps from 2020, a pop historian focused on the 2020s. Atlas had secured a medallion of faith from Roof Diver, who's a 6th Street Army member who had some experience with the poor and desperate in the hot zone. That medallion might carry some weight amongst those living in the ruins. You also picked up a number of items from Delver Dan's, a shop dedicated to supplying those stupid enough to venture, brave enough, ambitious enough, entrepreneurial enough to venture into the hot zone, including a Geiger counter, radiation tablets for everybody, a bottle of water, a case of bottled water. Yeah, just one bottle of water to share amongst yourselves. Neon green, lead-lined duct tape, and for some reason, new clothing for Angry Bob. This was in my notes, but I don't actually remember what Bob got.
I think it was just clothing so he would fit in better in the irradiated zone. And he only has so many suits of clothes, and this is his nice one that he's been wearing. So, yeah, he wanted another set.
So is he buying, yeah. So to that, is he wearing, what people think people wear in the hot zone? It's just, the Marty McFly wearing the 1950s cowboy uniform before he goes back to the Old West?
Immediate.
Or is it...
He's got contacts. He knows what's going on.
Yeah, he would have talked with 2020, and Delver Dan probably has, a bunch of stuff on the back rack of, there's a bunch of, beat up old overalls duct taped over it with the holes and what have you.
I'm trying to remember the different styles of clothing here.
I wonder if our handy compendium will tell me that.
So, right now he wears generic chic. I don't think he's going down to bag lady chic, the homeless ragged vagrant sort of thing, and he definitely doesn't know what gang colors need to be worn and probably shouldn't do that. So, yeah, it's probably just a different, more shabby generic chic sort of wear.
Okay.
But, this is his working clothes. He's got the leisure wear jacket and the urban flash mirror shade and generic chic clothing right now. But, he needs something else, and then he can throw it all away.
Gotcha.
Which is going to hurt.
So you guys...
Because, we're not paid enough yet.
You'll just be the guy who emerges from the ruins completely immaculate, right? Not a drop of dirt on you. Well,
Like
everybody
Johnny
else is covered
Mnemonic in
in
the
pumpkin
movie,
mud.
sitting on top of the pile of garbage. Just $800 shirts.
So over in roll 20, we have our map of basically the hot zone, which is the old city core, which is where the Arasaka nuke goes off. I was doing a little reading on this. Like, people don't actually know who set off the nuke, right? Like, we know the situation with Johnny Silverhand, but there's a lot of like random kind of urban legends about what happened, and like a popular theory is that like Arasaka nuked its own headquarters as a way of like denying access to it during like the Fourth Corporate War and what have you.
Interesting.
There could be other explanations, but not like Johnny Silverhand, rebel without a clue, set off a nuke downtown, right? Like, that's not the story. In any case, downtown is in a bad shape. Lots of buildings falling down, crumpled, lots of just like debris and what have you. At this point, people are not actually, like, maybe on the periphery of it, they're starting to reclaim some of the hot zone. Real revitalization that will come in time for 2077 has not happened yet, right? And so mostly what you've got in there is squatters, because people who are too desperate, too poor to live anywhere else, people who are going into the hot zone trying to reclaim old, tech from before the nuke, like just going through the old hospitals, going through the old corporate headquarters and stuff like that. A lot of it's been picked over because it's been 20 years since the nuke went off. But, there's a lot of corporate stuff downtown. We're talking about old city center, which was like the government center, the old bank block, which had all of like, your megacorp bank outlets and what have you, not bank outlets, branches, maybe some headquarters, old med center, which was like the hospital suites, right? And then old Corp Center, which is where Arasaka Tower was actually located. So on the map, you can see I've indicated where Arasaka Tower was. And I also indicated where Elysium HQ is. Elysium, that Elysium HQ was close enough to the blast that it and all the buildings around it suffered pretty significant damage. It was basically a suitcase nuke that went off. It wasn't a major nuclear device that would have wiped out all of Night City, but it's enough that it irradiated downtown, caused significant damage, and just the abandonment of the last 20 years has caused more damage over time, right?
It was more of a dirty nuke than a explosive per se. It didn't knock all the buildings down in old Corp Center. It more irradiated most of them.
I think it like
a little bit of both.
I think it actually structurally damaged like all of the buildings immediately surrounding Arasaka Tower, and like the towers themselves are like not intact. But because a dirty bomb would be more like conventional explosives laced with radiation. There was actually a nuclear bomb that went off, and it went off in one of the elevators within the Arasaka Towers, right? So it's like an air blast, which I guess was not the original plan for Johnny Silverhand. The idea, I think, originally was to get the bomb to the basement, but it didn't work out that way. So you have this air blast from like the 70th floor or something like that. And so you can just imagine like a pretty impressive concussive blast, just knocking out all of the windows in downtown, causing structural damage to the neighboring buildings, and then buildings start to fall over time, right?
Got it.
It is an unpleasant place to visit because you have your kind of like streetwise things that you learned last time. And as we're looking at the map, the gray areas are basically Jersey barriers and other things that the city government put in place to prevent tourists from just like going into the old city, and like it's basically trying to discourage people from just like driving through and doing random things, right? Where the green boxes are basically places where people are perhaps charging admission to get in, or are some sort of an outpost for an organization. There's exactly who is there changes over time, and other barriers will arise over time and fall. But the green areas are basically outposts where you could go and encounter. Lake Park, you'll notice there's this section in the southwest corner. Lake Park was adjacent to Old City Center. It was included in the devastation. It's just completely overgrown. You can't drive a vehicle through it unless it's like a really heavy duty sort of vehicle. And even then you're probably like smashing through underbrush and like getting stuck and having to use a winch to get through to the old Corp Center. But you could get through on foot.
Or jet skis.
Yes, you could put in a jet ski because it's very swampy and overgrown at this point. And there's squatters and what have you who are living there and like fishing in the pond and in the lake and what have you. The northern section where it says, I'm going to massacre this, Totentaz? Is this Totentaz? Totentaz.
Yeah, we don't want to go near there.
That's the headquarters for Maelstrom. Maelstrom is the roided up cyber psycho. Like 1/4 of the gang is cyber psychos. They engage in drug trafficking, cyberware trafficking. They actively, like, I wouldn't say patrol, but rampage through the old city center and you know that there's like Scavvers, which are basically people who want to get into Maelstrom, and they're just out looking to try and make a rep downtown. And then you have the actual Maelstrom gang members who are just out and about, like randomly shooting at stuff. So their gates are open.
Angry Bob needs to make a correction here. Maelstrom isn't roided up. That's the animals.
I was thinking more like, cyber muscles and...
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I misspoke. But yes, they are cybernetically enhanced.
Yes.
And they are
overly, I would say.
Overly cybernetically enhanced. And likely to go cyber psycho. And then they just unleash them in the downtown. So that's what you're looking at. I think, let me double check my notes here about what you guys had
so
determined.
The Jersey barriers, other than Jersey barriers, is there anything more active at those sites?
Where, at the gray sites?
Yeah.
No, like so they've strung up like razor wire on top of the barrier, but there's not like turrets that are looking to
so they're not like the short K rails. They're like really tall, is what you're saying.
No, I would say like they're so each one is about I have my stats here. Hold on, let me find my stats. They're 20 foot long, probably about like 40 foot tall, not 40 foot tall, like 5 foot tall, 6 foot tall, like the higher concrete barriers that you would see on a major construction site. They weigh somewhere in the neighborhood of 7,000 to 10,000 pounds. They're nailed into place with rebar. Moving them would require like significant heavy machinery, a muscle truck, or enough explosives.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like if they were like a standard like K rail thing, or standard-ish, because this is not our current modern world, it's an alternate. But like getting a decently sized tow truck and pulling them out of the way and then driving in might be a possibility, but given the fact that they're secured in place and more permanent, not feasible.
It is interesting, a bit of jargon. I had never heard the term K-rail before. I get being from New Jersey, I just knew of them as Jersey barriers.
I think they're probably the same thing. I think I've heard them called K-rails in the Chicago area.
Yeah, they're more or less equivalent, I think. The idea is that they basically put in stuff to prevent people from joyriding through. They're not going to stop you as a person from and then there's like razor wire strung up, but like this wasn't given out to the highest contractor, right? This was the lowest bidder, and like they did a thing, and no one really goes and checks the security all that often. So from a physical deterrent, it's really just about large vehicles moving in and out. The roads going through Old City Center, like 6th Street, as we called out, and any of the things in any of those streets in Maelstrom territory, they're open.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They're happy. Sure. They want people. They have people going in and out all the time because they have their own like cybernetic trades, drug trade, other things that they're engaging in because they're a functional street gang, right?
Yeah, I mean the easiest way in would be straight up 6th Street and over to Commerce. It's just like a normal commute to Old Corp Center. Yeah.
It's just there may be a cyber psycho in your way,
right,
or other. So you would know, the Maelstrom like pride themselves on like setting up like death traps and gauntlets and what have you. Sometimes for people who are coming into to Old City Center, some of them are just for each other, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey man, can you get through that?
Right.
So you would also know, over on 10th Street, which is on the western side of the map, which is, I guess it's perpendicular to Berkeley
10th
Avenue.
Street in Berkeley.
Yeah. So I have to say, I found this excellent map online, which I'll link to from probably our Cyberpunk resources page, that has street names for all of the 2045. Well, many of the 2045 streets, which was handy for me. Some of these were like from their own campaign or what have you. I think they also took them from the Cyberpunk 2077. There's a separate map for 2077, but that's after the renovations. So, so at 10th Street, that is controlled by the Westgate Wardens. They charge some amount of EVs to get through their particular barrier. The northern approach we already talked about has the Maelstrom. The northeastern approach over in the old bank block is controlled by the Banker Brothers. And apparently they will let you in if you're willing to do a job in the city for them. But they are notorious for making sure that there is collateral that you actually do the job, which includes one of your members wearing an explosive collar that will go off within a set amount of time if you have completed the job.
Where was that one?
That is Old Bank Block. It's in the northeastern portion of the city, like that green block there.
The High Street?
High Street.
Green High Street.
Leads to 8th Street, yeah. And then the eastern approach by Old Med Center is home to the Sawbones, which are known as a mercenary band that focuses on salvage from Old Med Center. They have a reputation as being the most benevolent of the factions, operating free clinics for those who are desperate enough to live in the hot zone. They're not entirely benevolent. I mean, they're mostly doing it because people will come to them with salvage or rumors, and then they give them like some amount of healthcare, but they're finding the best tech and taking it out of the old downtown.
They're not 100% altruistic, is what you're saying.
They're not 100% altruistic. But perhaps better than the other factions.
Then there's the Dirty Cop listed here, but it doesn't look like you can get very many places from Madison Avenue.
I don't close my window. Hold on.
Next to High Street in the old bank block.
That was the Dirty Cop that you dragged.
Sorry.
You were demonstrating Roll20. Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's not actually a location.
He just happened to be right at that corner of that street.
By the way,
right off of Public Way, there's the Dirty Cop Hangout. It's where all the old cops go to.
Right.
One-stop shopping, ladies and
They
gentlemen.
provide security for the Banker Brothers. And because this was taken from somebody else's campaign, there's a bunch of other notations on there that aren't necessarily on the actual 2045 map. But
the gray smudges are barricades?
Sorry,
Erin? Yeah, the Jersey barricades.
The gray... Okay.
Yes. They indicate substantial obstructions. For the most part, they're Jersey barriers.
Okay.
Which isn't to say that you couldn't get around them. If you didn't want to deal with any of this, you just need to plan accordingly. But this is basically what you've discovered. You know, in addition, now that you've actually sat down, you've got the maps in front of you, you're kind of looking through everything. And the game master had, a couple of weeks to actually put together what you found. Because there's nothing that says you couldn't use jet skis.
We just need something on the other side of the jet skis to continue us the rest of the way.
Depends on how fast you want to walk. So I will say, scale-wise, I think I was looking online. Night City itself is San Francisco sized. And Old City Center itself is not super huge. Unfortunately, this map doesn't have a scale.
Yeah, I was just looking for that. So Lake Park has a lot of what look like the Lake Park district looks like there's some streets and stuff in there. Are those actual
You would
streets?
know. At this point, it's completely overgrown, right? Like, so it's imagine side streets and highways that have been uncared for 20 years, right? Like the pavement's broken up, trees are growing
asking
through them.
because like all the other areas are blackened, but not Lake Park. With the
portions of Lake Park are.
Yeah.
So the blackened part basically indicates the areas where you start getting into radiation and like active devastation. The rest of Lake Park is just like no one's going there to like eat hot dogs and have a picnic.
Oh no,
the rest of it may not be devastated. It's just kind of overgrown.
If there are paved areas in there, it could be possible to actually drive to Plaza Circle. I don't know if it would connect to Plaza Circle. That's the other question. But
what I'm saying is after 20 years, those streets are all like yes, the streets are still there. Like you can see where they were, but they're broken up. There's trees that are growing through them, right? Like, so you might have to get out and like hack things down with a chainsaw.
You know what I'm regretting? I'm regretting that all four of us didn't learn how to rocket blade. 4 hit points damage at the end of each turn when they are on fire. So it's not just, according to the book, it's 4 damage at the end of their turn. According to the compendium, it's 3d6 plus 4 damage at the end of their turn, which makes a little bit more sense.
So you can use the compendium, and if Erin, I think you can add it to your character sheet. So if you can add it to your character sheet, if you want to test fire your flamethrower, so we can see if it works.
Oh no! Later on in the thing, it says they only take 4 hit points of damage at the end of their turns.
Don't know how I get it.
I see how it is. Single shot damage 3d6 plus 4 hit points of damage at the end of each turn. Grammar is great in terms of like trying to figure this out.
If you look next to the armor piercing ammunition, there's a little data point that says armor piercing ammunition is the standard basic level for grenades and rockets.
Yes,
which is 100 EB, but it's only 1 at a time. So cool. All right, so it's 100 per shot, basically. How many shots do I want?
Apparently, in the initial release of Cyberpunk RED, this caused no end to confusion because people couldn't understand how to buy grenades because they didn't actually have this little call out as to what the damage was and what have you. So the errata addressed it, and in my printing of the book, they added that little call out that explains the damage.
Oops.
Any other shopping that you guys are doing? As you get increasingly nervous looking at the map and go and buy more stuff.
Yep.
I'm just gonna buy.
I feel like you're my wife and I, like packing for a trip to the beach. Like, well, what if we need this? Well, what if we need this? There could be shark attack. Should we bring a harpoon?
That's how I overcome when I go to conventions. I mean, you were lamenting how much you had packed in your backpack for Gen Con.
Previously, I think I did really good for this Gen Con, except for the part where I didn't bring dice.
That's right. Yeah, this one you had a much better backpack.
Yes, previous one I was in pain most of the convention.
Yes.
So anyway, what are you guys doing? What's the plan?
I do think I have a car for this, right? I'm just checking.
We had said you had picked up a car, so I'm guessing like a beat-up 4-seater sedan sort of thing, because I don't even know the said. Unless you're going to try and upgrade or negotiate in some way. Kind of depends on what you're trying to accomplish, right? So I think we can retcon or just change this out if the plan changes. Like, you've got your Nomad contacts if you need to do something differently.
I do have my medallion, too.
You do. Yes. So, I mean, if you do want to go the jet ski route, I am not opposed to the Rocket Blade training montage, which I think would be hilarious.
Oh, jeez. I mean, we just jet ski across the lake, and then or airboat or whatever. We get across the lake, and then we use the rocket blades on Plaza Circle, and we just come up and around on Plaza Circle.
Yeah, you should be able to switch to like the highlight
pointer,
tool, right? There used to be.
Hold down your mouse
I
button.
was multi-clicking. Yeah, so we could
just
come across the
move
lake,
Sorry.
Noob.
and then go over here. Hey, Owlbear Rodeo has like a laser pointer function. We could just go up and
It
around.
actually.
So?
You love Owlbear Rodeo so much. Why don't you marry it?
Yeah.
Well, when I run another game, I'm going to use it.
I honestly thought there was a pointer, but I think I'm confusing it with Jamboard and everything
Actually,
else.
I believe there is. I just think it's buried. I'd have to go find it.
What is slightly more red area? Old Corp Center Plaza. It like overflows on the east of Plaza Circle.
Let's see, yeah, like this
Is
part
that
here.
like hard radiation?
I think this is the high radiation. This is the like. I think that's where the mega devastation is. I don't know if it's necessarily hard radiation zone. It's just that's where the worst of the worst was.
Okay.
In terms of
Which
fallout,
probably
damage,
would be the worst of the worst radiation as well. Angry Bob would assume.
Yeah, I think what you guys had learned was there's like it's not that there's particular areas or pockets of hard radiation that remain, but you don't know when you're going to find them. It's not that Old Corp Center is highly radioactive.
So overall, we know that this is like an aerospace engineering place, basically, that's overgrown with plant life. I don't know how much loot we're going to be bringing back with us from there. So I don't know if Old Med Center is going to be the way to go, because we're not going to have much to give them once we get back out around.
Well, if worse comes to worse, we can always just give them money.
Maybe that's the best answer.
You got money to give?
Money?
Well, they paid us 20 up front. I don't say we carry all of it, but
Definitely not. Too bad that corrupt cop is gone. The dirty cop. Yeah.
Or we just walk in with a bunch of medications, and then they need that to
I'm
make
bringing
their
kibble
living.
for the roving dogs, but we don't want to take too much stuff.
I mean, showing up with a bunch of antibiotics that you purchased, right? Like,
sure.
What are you talking
to barter
about?
your way through doesn't seem unreasonable. I will point out that there is still a bounty on your heads. It was at 5,500 EBs the last time that APT's ticker had ticked. Not much too much time has actually passed since we were in game, so it hasn't gone up yet again.
Well, it's 55 for Shake and Bake, right? And the rest of us.
It was, my notes say that it was 2,000. Oh wait, I think I did my math wrong. It was 2,000 EBs each plus 3,500 for Atlas as the ringleader. So 2,000 times Shake and Bake. So yeah, you're almost at 10,000 EBs as the bounty on your collective.
Yeah,
heads.
9,500 EBs. Yeah.
I do have 2 more rockets now. Angry Bob's talking about, we might not be carrying a whole lot. Here I am walking around with a giant lead pipe, a rocket launcher, an assault rifle, and a very heavy pistol.
I think Angry Bob mentions to, hey, Atlas, when you make enough money, I think you need to swap out. I just found this. You might not want it, but you might want to swap out your assault rifle for a Tsunami Arms Helix.
Okay, I was thinking his face needed
Seems
to be
pretty
changed
neat. They're marketing
bounties
materials.
He's getting.
It's page 349 in case you wanted to look at it. It's
I need
only
them.
5,000 EBs.
I just have to laugh that Cyberpunk RED is as much JCPenney Christmas catalog for
It is.
psychopaths as it is. I laugh because, I've never seen like any other role-playing game put out so much supplementary content about equipment. It's amazing to me.
Let me introduce you to Star Wars.
It is a staple of, I guess I'll say, old school cyberpunk games, because Shadowrun was just as many splat books about gear.
And I definitely, I'm not complaining. I think it's really cool. It's very pretty to look at. But it just, coming from the D&D world where it's kind of like, I'm going to hit someone with a metal stick,
Yeah.
Reloading the weapon takes 2 actions. So
I
it
got my
takes 2 turns to
flamethrower, I'm
reload
happy.
it.
and it's empty in 2 shots.
Yeah, and it's empty in 2 shots. Oh god, firing this
Sorry,
weapon.
I was just looking up the
requires-
medical supplies stuff, which does not show up under gear list.
Here is what I'm going to do, Ken. I'm going to spend 2 EBs ish on little kits that I'm putting together. It'll have some kibble, it'll have like socks, it'll have emergency blanket or other things like that for people who are living in the zone who don't necessarily have things for other, like, don't have the protection of the, people like Maelstrom or anything else like that. They're your average sort of, not average because they're living in this zone, but anybody who might need some extra help. The intent is to be able to give these out so that we'll gain a little bit of goodwill and maybe some information.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Desperately trying to find anything about the medical supplies.
It says firing this weapon requires a body 11 or higher unless it is mounted.
Okay.
Holy cow. Wait, what's a body 11? Body is this whole skill area.
Body is
here we go.
your stat. Like I have a body of 6.
Oh, yeah, my body is only 7.
I think the only way to get above 10 is with cyberware, maybe. So okay, so maybe
it does a heck of a lot of damage. But...
if
I
you
think the easiest way
it does a heck of a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So a med tech bag is 100 EBs. I think if you guys want to say like you're going to roll up with a bunch of antibiotics and creams and what have you, you spend X amount of money, and that just like you pick up what you need, and that basically becomes your bargaining block for dealing with if you're going to go the medical route or what have you, right? So
A
we
med
don't really
tech
need
bag
rules
is-
for antibiotics.
It's 10 EBs.
Sorry?
That medtech bag is 10 EBs.
It's 100. That's
Oh,
like
100.
all this. So that's
Okay.
it's a full medical kit in a bag, right? And so I think I'm thinking if you spend 100 EBs on like basic antibiotics, like that's enough to treat 10 people or something like that.
I spend that
So if you rolled
100 EBs
Okay.
on miscellaneous antibiotics as a bargaining chip.
Are you guys getting any other medical supplies here? So are you going the medical route? Like, I don't want to push you down that route.
Yes,
I think you're just
that
having it
is
for
what I
have a
want to
barter
do.
to have on.
It seems the least bullet expending route at the moment.
Okay, I will speak for me in the car. Me and the car are going through the old med center. The rest of them
I'm with Omen. I'm with
can
Omen.
make their own choice.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say these kits that I'm assembling are 40 eddies each worth of various useful supplies for survival and comfort.
All right,
How many
Angry
kits do
Bob,
you
you done
create?
with your knitting project? We're going.
Yeah, it'll have like a kibble pack and some other stuff in it. So I've got 5 of those. I do have a medtech bag, my own for the group, but it's the one I've had for a while in case one of us gets shot, sort of thing.
Gotcha.
Sure.
I've had that for a while.
Turn that medallion of faith into some in full display.
Okay. So you roll up in this beat up sedan, very much expendable given where you're going. Right? It doesn't have a lot of extras that have been added on to it because you guys haven't armored it up or anything. There was no A-team sequence where you started wielding on plate metal to the sides of it. As you're approaching, you can see the hospitals are as you might imagine in pretty bad shape. The glass was blown out long ago. In some places they've put up sheets of plastic to keep the weather out. A lot of times people aren't using plywood because you can burn that, right? So it's either exposed or people have put up like corrugated steel sheets or something that, they're badly rusted sheets to block up windows if they're dwelling inside of those particular building. As you roll up, you can see that there's you're like looking down what is this, East 16th Street, and you can see along the sides of the street there are infirmary tents set up, and there's also these small like portable units, like pods, like the big white pod things that you can get to just put stuff in at your house. There's a bunch of those kind of lining the street. You can tell they appear to be locked and or guarded, so there's various people with reasonable quality, like rifles, shotguns, pistols, that kind of thing, sort of milling about. You can also see not far from the entrance is an armored, reinforced 6-wheel trauma wagon. Looks like it's, seen better days. It was probably, a rapid response trauma vehicle in a different life, but now it seems to be serving as kind of like a mobile surgery HQ, but probably doesn't move all that much. It does have a heavy weapon mounted on top, like machine gun sort of thing. Like, it seems like surgery center / repel invaders if needed. There's a number of people that are milling about, and there's not necessarily, there's like as you come up, there's a basic perimeter of just like a chain link fence. But it's currently pulled back, like the fence itself is pulled back so that people can come in and out. There's not a lot of traffic coming in and out of this particular facility. Like, you guys are the only ones who roll up to the gate. It's not like there's a huge line set up for this. There are a handful of people who are like walking in from outside of the city core because they know they can get some form of medical care here. But compared to the rest of the city, like if you think about what Night City looks like normally, you're used to a bustling metropolis, right? Like, in certain portions of the city, you're bumping up against people continuously. There's the sound of not so much vehicles in 2045 because there's not as much vehicular traffic as there will be in 2077, but you're used to the hustle and bustle of the city, like buses going, horns blaring, like shouting, yelling, that kind of stuff. It is oddly subdued here. And for those of you who grew up in the city, it's just weird, right? You can hear, and because you don't have like the constant white noise of the city going off behind you, you can pick up other sounds, like moans of the sick being treated in the infirmaries, a man begging for help with his kids and being told they don't have those kinds of medical supplies available, a sudden scream coming from the trauma wagon as someone, if you had to guess, you can hear the chatter from the surgeons inside talking about, hold him down, we have to take the arm off.
Oh God.
There's whiffs of antiseptic that, as you're like pulling up, kind of like the breezes carry out, as well as like the smell of vomit. And you can see that occasionally there's people walking down the street and outside of like the service tents, and they've just got buckets of water and they're dumping it to like push the vomit off into the sewers. So that's kind of what you see as you approach. And there's 2 armed guards. They've got a stylized patch of a hacksaw on their shoulders, and then like the sort of like Red Cross style first aid thing on the other side. And one of them will just like walk up to you, and she like kind of, well, I guess they're walking up to you, one on either side of the vehicle at the gate. How do you guys react? And I guess I'm looking primarily to Omen, since she's the one who's driving.
Give her a wave.
You wave?
Yeah, bring her on over.
Okay. So, okay, you're waving them over, right? So
we're not trying to stealth our way through this.
I wasn't sure if you're like,
right.
waving as you drive through, right? Or wave like, yeah, come here. So they come up, kind of leaning on their assault rifles as they do so. Woman approaches the driver's side window and says, welcome to Sawbones. What you doing?
Mostly we're driving through. How's that straight?
Angry Bob's probably in the back seat, depending upon what side of the car he's on, which I'll let you decide. He's either going to roll down the window, because it's probably a manual roll down the window because of the car, or he's going to
right.
carefully step out if he's on the opposite side. Hey, we'd like to head on through, but we brought some supplies for you that hopefully will help the people around here.
Ah, well, charitable sort, huh? Yeah, well, we'll take it. You know, we're not like those assholes at the other gates that are going to charge you something for it. Like, it's your own funeral if you want to go into the city core. But we appreciate the donation. If you want to, you can go over to that tent next to the trauma center. Just drop it off. Just ask for Leon. Patch will take it from you.
All right. Thanks.
Yep, you're welcome. Keep moving. Keep moving.
Keep moving. Keep moving. I'm keeping my antibiotics for the trip out.
I thought that was the antibiotics for the group that we got. Because I don't know that we got anything other than that.
I bought my own set of 100 antibiotics, and I kind of figured that we were going to need payment both ways, so I'm keeping mine.
I don't think we bought anything else then on the way in, for the way in.
Didn't you buy anything?
I bought stuff for people inside.
Kits.
The kibble kits. That's for past this.
Okay, well then I guess the 100 antibiotics I bought is... Yeah, we might need some stuff on the way out.
Yeah, I made the assumption that that was to get us in.
I mean, you guys could easily have spent another 800 just like collectively to roll up with some antibiotics and drop them down, right? Like or everyone could just look at Omen and go, "Wait, okay, sure."
Okay.
Leave some old gum wrappers. No, look, really, it's antibiotics.
Yeah, that wouldn't go
well.
So if you'll allow us to retcon just a little bit, like the flashback of, that was to get us out. Oh, okay. Yeah. So Bob will chip in 100 to get us in.
Yeah. I'll do the same for whatever it's worth.
Yeah, I figured we were going to need passage both ways.
Mm-hmm.
I thought nobody ends up leaving this place. Do we even need something to get out?
Omen's
I don't know, but
yeah, I'm an optimist too.
Usually,
that
you
Omen's
need passage both
here.
ways.
Yeah. So if I'm reading this right, we're dropping off 200 eddies worth of antibiotics and pain meds and other things like that on the way in.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have 100 for on the way out.
And then we have 100 for on the way out. Or us while we're in there.
Yeah, so
and we were supposed to talk to Leon. Okay. Ken, you watched way too much Resident Evil.
I'd say I watched
the guy's name is
the right
Leon.
Amount of. They have a pet raccoon.
No.
So as you move through, you see somebody like opens up one of these storage units, and you can see it's got the hum of a refrigerator. And they walk out of the trauma ward with this like busted up, severed arm, and they take it over into the refrigerator. And as they open it, you can see that it's stacked with corpses, and other assorted like limbs and what have you that are like, he comes over, he opens up a box, he puts the limb in, he closes it back up again, comes back out. There's this like sharp smell of like cold and refrigerated meat that kind of hits you as they open the body dump.
Bob is definitely getting a shot of that. He is definitely recording.
So Patch takes your stuff. Thanks you.
Patch
Seems
Leon?
kind of disinterested. Sorry,
Patch
his
Leon?
name is actually
My dog's out.
Leon Patch Mercer is his name. Patch is his code
Okay.
name. Because he patches people up, right? But yeah, Leon. So Leon takes it. He's like, "Hey, thank you much. Your donation is greatly appreciated. You'll help 20 people. Good job. Feel great about yourselves,
Patch,
guys."
I'd like to help a lot more. Can you liften up the recorder? I want to get this out. I want to get your plight and the plight of all these people out to people who can actually help. Can you tell us more about this place?
Yeah.
Tell us about what you do here.
It's a terrible place, and people suffer a lot because the whole city knows that, because I don't know if you know, but they fired off a nuke a couple decades ago and devastated this whole area. So everyone here is miserable and terrible. We're here just helping out as best we can while making a little bit of scratch from salvage, right? But look, at the end of the day, no one's gonna watch this. No one's gonna help. No one really cares. You wouldn't have been here if you didn't have some other reason to be here, right? Like, you don't care about actual people or what's happening, or that guy who just got his arm cut off and isn't going to get some new cyberware to replace it. Like, he just doesn't have a fucking arm, man. So, like, why don't you take your, like, charity tourism and, like, go somewhere else? We appreciate your 200 EBs worth of antibiotics. That's real great. We'll blow through that in a day. But, if you want to soothe your conscience, maybe you come back and actually do some work. But otherwise, go off and do whatever gangbanging dumb shit you guys are planning on doing. Because, but you make sure you get that on camera, man. You get that on camera.
Bob's going to try and ask a couple of follow-up questions, but like at the beginning
on his
of
shoulder and drag him back to the car.
APT just sinks lower and lower into the seats in the car.
Les is just watching this, like watching
not wrong.
People just full tears streaming down his face.
The man said, like, "Go." We go.
There's some people
dogs
that,
are going crazy outside.
There's some people that you don't mind killing, but then you see people suffering.
When Patch started his thing, like, Bob's heart sank. He's like, oh man, this is going to be such a crap interview. And then he started ranting, and it's like, oh, this is getting good. Yeah, keep going. Bob will have started to ask questions, and then, Omen is starting to drag him away. It's like, don't worry. I'll make sure this gets out. I'll be back for a follow-up.
Yeah, sure you will. Don't mind the coy dogs. Like, well, maybe you should, because if you're planning on camping out in there, they'll, like, tear you to pieces. You always hear them barking and howling in the city.
As he gets into the car, he's concerned about the plight of these people, but he's also is like, with some creative editing, this could be really, really impactful, from a journalistic standpoint.
Shut up.
The editor will really love it. This is all what Bob's thinking right now.
Oh, that wasn't out loud?
That wasn't out loud.
I mean, okay,
no.
All right.
No. Bob knows when to keep his mouth shut most of the time.
That's
some people, you want to kill, but then you see these people and they're suffering, and you want to kill them for a different reason.
You gonna be okay, Atlas?
I'll be all right.
Bob's getting footage of that too, by the way. It's like look at this.
Omen looks over to APT.
Super strong merc, heart of iron, heart of steel, pulled down to tears at the sight of this.
Omen looks over to APT. We can't take them anywhere. The men are emotional again.
What'd you say, Erin?
Gets this look.
You can't take
APT gets this look on her face and just looks at Omen and says, Tuesday, man. Tuesday.
No, Omen said she can't take
you guys anywhere.
The men are getting emotional again.
Rub some dirt on it, Atlas. Take a lap.
Yep, I got it. Don't worry. Okay, I'm better.
So as you proceed through the perimeter, you can see there's, like, it's just sad. There's people who clearly have not like less than nothing, right? Like, they don't maybe have a change of clothes. Like whatever they've managed to salvage from within the city. So they basically just have patchwork stuff that they just keep layering on. There's kids, there's the elderly, there's babies. Like they're all here trying to get some amount of help. And meanwhile, you can see like the Sawbones do actually like maintain a perimeter. So although the people here seem desperate, they don't seem scared.
They're safe.
Probably
here.
They're safer. Yeah. But it's also clear, like as you're kind of going through, the Sawbones are not hesitant to turn them out once services have been rendered. Right. So as you're kind of like slow rolling through the facility, they're like, yeah, take a couple of these, try and drink good water, and don't have to go home, but can't stay here.
Because they'd get too swamped if they let everybody stay.
Yeah. And there's like, as you kind of proceed through this area, there's another like chain link fence next to that, like the Jersey barrier that you can see that's like at the intersection of Delaney and 16th Street. There's like another chain link fence that marks like the end of their territory. A couple more guards that are standing there, and there's not like you might expect if there's resources here that there would be like almost like a tent city or something that would have set up in this particular area, but you don't see any evidence of habitation. From what you know from talking with like Falco, right? Like to set up a permanent camp somewhere that's not like fortified or hidden is to invite somebody to attack and steal your stuff.
Gotcha.
So we've come in on East 16th. Are we heading up Delaney to High and then cutting back?
It's either that or we head up to Effinger. Up to High.
Or we could.
I mean, the only clear path in is Delaney to High.
Delaney to High.
Yeah.
So how are you driving, Omen?
Actually, no, you're right. It's effing. You're actually right. I'm sorry, David. You're right. Up to Effinger and then Effinger up to High.
Yeah, I mean it's a
shorter drive.
It's a shorter drive, but it's also further in, so it could be riskier and or more debris on the road. So
no, I don't want to be near those bank people.
Okay.
Effinger.
All right. Yeah, so I guess, Bob's going to take out the Geiger counter and get a quick reading while we're by the old med center.
There's a low... So I'm assuming the Geiger counter is just out all the time, right? So, or like,
it's fine, unless it's like super noisy. While we're in the car, it's not a big deal, but if he could turn the audio off and just look at the readout on it would be great too.
It's a bit unnerving, quite honestly. The background radiation is higher than what you saw outside. Like there's always some amount of radiation in Night City given like weather patterns and what have you. But it's more like, your microwave running rather than like things have taken a serious spike, right? Now it's running because you have the door open. So it's increased like just chatter, and you can see that it's consistently higher as you start proceeding towards old Corp Center.
All right. Bob's definitely recording as we're driving in. But he's also keeping an eye out for people, etc. He's more concerned about people since Nomad's going to avoid obstacles because she's driving.
So how is Omen driving? Like what's your style? Like slow and easy, gun it as fast as you can. Like, okay,
nope, slow and easy.
Make a
ganger style.
A driving check as you turn on to Effinger. It's effing her,
Yeah,
right?
I'm just trying to remember where that is. What that's under. Performance? Social.
Driving. Yeah,
Control?
driving is under.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
19.
Yeah.
Woohoo! All right, so you definitely avoid the massive cracks, tremendous potholes, and what have you as you're making your way down and you turn onto Effinger. Everybody can make I have my skill check here. Perception checks as you're just
All right.
slow rolling onto Effinger.
Ooh, angry Bob.
Yep.
Gotta find my perception. Where the hell is perception?
Awareness skill.
Awareness.
Thank you.
Having the same problem.
Omen's so good at driving, but not good
Omen
at
is
looking
just
around.
focused on the road and all of the obstacles and
potholes and
cracks
everything
in
else.
the road.
Yeah.
Everything else is a tunnel.
All right. Looks like my first one was a 19, so I'll take it. I accidentally hit it twice.
Gotcha. I'm going to throw this into Roll20. It is a reference document I've been using. It's a big list of all of the skills, which can be handy when you're just like, what the hell is this, right? I just need to search for it.
Oh, that's handy.
Yes, because I mean, as the game master, it's like, what am I even calling for here, right? All right, so you start rolling down what you guys, so APT, and Angry Bob pick up at the far end of the street as it starts to like dogleg into the main, towards the Plaza Circle that goes around Old Corp Center. You can see there is a collection of, no, sorry, hold on. Collection isn't the right word. There is a group of a small group of people, probably 20 odd, gather around on the side of the road, and you can see there is a small group of what appear to be, I don't know, we call them residents, salvagers, right? People who clearly like they've got like backpacks and they look like they've been out and about, getting stuff together. You can see a couple of them have like old plastic bags, and you can see through into the plastic bags there's various dented cans of food, and they're kind of clutching them to their chests. They don't seem to be armed. Surrounding them are a bunch of heavily tattooed, thick-necked, like maybe some artificial muscles, maybe have like, they have tattoos of cyberware, but they don't look like they actually have that much actual cyberware. Based on what you've heard, you think these are probably Scavvers, and there's about 10 of them. These are the wannabe Maelstroms, right? Who are gathered around this group, and they're like, you can hear them shouting and like, hey, give over your stuff, man. Come on. It's ours. Thanks for finding it for us.
Really don't want it.
So I made a
Just
little
saying.
ellipse.
The
Is that
baying
where,
of the
where you're
the
talking?
koi hounds.
Yeah.
Sorry?
The ellipse that I put on, the yellow one, is that about where you're talking?
Yes, right here.
Yep. Got it. Zoom in.
They're kind of off to the side. So they like there's these. So as you get closer to the old corporate center, there's the skyscrapers in Old Corporate Center, and then there's like the lower buildings surrounding it, like the ring buildings, like maybe there were 40 stories or something like that. We're not talking brownstones, right? Some of them are collapsed. They're so they're like on the streets outside of one of these sort of rundown second tier corporate office buildings.
So is it time to make a few friends and a few enemies? It's just Bob just asked the
or is it time
car.
to gun it?
Yeah.
What do you think we're going to do?
I mean, we got a couple
What
choices.
exactly?
You hear the people shout out, but come on, you guys, you can get food from anywhere. Like, we got to feed our kids, man. Come on, don't be doing this.
Everybody's got a sob story. I gun it.
I'm with Omen on that one.
It just drives on.
Yep.
I mean, look.
All right. I guess
we
Bob
came
gets
here
some
for-
more footage that life is really hard in this area, and it's Scavvers picking on scavengers. And, you know.
So as you go gunning down Effinger Street, and so how fast are you going, Omen?
Fast enough to put a good distance between me and them, especially if they've got cars of their own, which I'm hoping they don't.
No, you don't see any other vehicles. It looks like they're on foot. They are armed. They look like they've got you can see they have some amount of light firearms kind of thing. You got this dogleg turn coming up. So 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, how much are you hot
Do that
dogging
at
it, I guess,
30.
is 30? All right.
Yeah.
So you roll, you're coming down at a pretty good clip. To them, it probably seems like you're going 50. And they all look up and you see a couple of them start drawing guns. A few they all turn to focus on you, and at that point the salvagers break and just start running down an alleyway to get away from this whatever's about to happen. The Scavvers are going to start taking pot shots at you as you drive by, so make another driving check to basically avoid the hail of gunfire that's headed in your general direction. Driving erratically, I guess, to kind of throw off the fire. Unless you're just going to let them shoot at you. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, I will definitely be hard target. And then I'll take that curve with a 21.
Okay, so you deftly shoot around the side of the curve. Batmobile style, it's almost as though you had fired off the grappling hook to be able to actually make this turn as steeply as you could. Everybody else in the car is kind of thrown against the side. The Scavvers, there's erratic gunfire that comes firing off. With that roll, you deftly avoid, you careen off of up onto the sidewalk and go scooting underneath one of the overhangs for a building. It starts to creak around you, and part of it starts to collapse behind you as you come tear-assing down High Street, as you knocked out a handful of pillars that had been there before. But I mean, you're Omen, you could do this all the time, right? And so the front half of the building collapses behind you, and now it's exposing all of just this office space. You can now see in. There's a few flickering of sparks and what have you. As it comes crumbling down behind, and now you are headed on to Plaza Circle. I think this would be a good place to pause, actually, if you guys don't mind, because that will let me build up what I need to do for Old Corp Center.
Cool.
Sure.
That's
by
great.
pause, you mean we're gonna call it here?
Stop for today.
We're going to call it here, and then we will come back for Old Corp Center next time. And whatever dangers
That's
lie
cool.
All right.
Thank you, Ken.
Yep.
You're welcome. I was really trying hard to pull on the heartstrings, guys.
You did. It worked.
I mean, I think
I like the. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say that I think Bob and Omen were we need to pull over and help those scavengers with those scavs there, and and Omen and APT
you mean
the front
Atlas
are
and Bob?
Yeah, Atlas and Bob. Sorry, Atlas and Bob. And Omen and APT are man, sucks everywhere.
I like that we actually have emerging softies in the group, and then we have we got to keep you guys from getting yourselves killed.
Little lost puppies.
And after having had the downtime with Atlas and with Shake and Bake and his kitten, right? So now we have, before he was just the cold-blooded, occasionally I just want to shoot people with rockets, right? And then you have that downtime with the kitten, and now we've got the softer side, volunteering at the soup kitchen, really caring about people, and now he's back out there to blow stuff up, right?
Yep.
Meanwhile, you guys are just driving past.
Hey, ultimately, we didn't get the personal connection with the scavengers, but the intent of the scavengers getting away from this scav gang was accomplished because now they're just all shooting at us, which would have happened had we stopped the car and fought them. They would have shot at us as well because they probably would have tried to take the car.
Yeah. Very true.
So,
all right, well, you want to take us
Omen
out,
was
David?
probably right in this particular case.
True. You want to take us out?
Sure. Thanks everybody for watching. LayerOfSecrets.com is the place to go for all of our links. You're probably either watching this on YouTube or you're listening to it podcast wise, but head on over there for more Cyberpunk RED, but also a lot of our general shows and talking about gaming. And totally, when I edit this, I'm going to cut me talking and the rest of us talking and just focus on Chip. So say hi to our Cyberdog, and we'll see you all in a little while.